70% of workers say AI will transform their job within 3 years. But fewer than 1 in 5 have spent more than an hour actually learning how to use it. That specific gap between knowing AI exists and knowing how to make it work for you, that is the most expensive mistake you can make in your career right now. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to close that gap. No fluff, no hype, no AI is going to change everything without telling you how. We're covering 3 things: what AI actually is under the hood, in plain English, not a textbook definition, a real one. Second, the specific tools that are already saving people hours every single week, with exact use cases. And third, how to prompt these tools so you actually get useful outputs, not garbage. And at the end, I'll reveal the one shift in how you think about AI that separates people who get real results from people who just play with it for a week and give up. Most people completely miss this. Stick around. Let's start at the foundation, because if you don't understand what AI actually is, you'll keep using it wrong. Artificial intelligence, at its core, is pattern recognition at a scale humans can't match. That's it. Strip away all the science fiction, all the headlines. An AI model like GPT-4 or Google's Gemini has processed more text than any human could read in 1,000 lifetimes, and it's learned the statistical patterns of how words, ideas, and concepts connect. When you type a question into ChatGPT, you're not talking to something that thinks. You're querying a system that predicts, with extraordinary accuracy, what a useful response looks like based on everything it's ever been trained on. It's not magic. It's compression, human knowledge, compressed and made searchable through conversation. Here's why that matters practically. Because AI doesn't think, it doesn't know what you actually need. It knows what a response to your words should look like. That distinction is huge, and we'll come back to it when we talk about prompting. Now, the AI landscape right now has a few major players you need to know. ChatGPT by OpenAI, specifically the GPT-4o model on the paid tier, is still the Swiss Army knife. It handles writing, coding, analysis, summarization, and it browses the web in real time. Google's Gemini Ultra is deeply integrated into Google Workspace, so if your whole life runs on Google Docs and Gmail, Gemini is genuinely useful because it can see your actual documents. Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet specifically, is exceptional for long documents. It can handle up to 200,000 tokens in a single context window, which means you can paste an entire legal contract or a 300-page report and ask it specific questions about the content. Those 3 are your foundation. And here's a pattern interrupt for you. Did you know that Claude was actually trained using a framework called constitutional AI, where the model was taught to critique its own outputs against a set of ethical principles? It's one of the reasons Claude tends to be more cautious and more careful with nuanced topics. Fascinating stuff. But here's where it gets interesting, because knowing the tools exist means nothing if you're using them like a search engine. Let's talk about real use cases, not hypotheticals. A marketing manager I know uses ChatGPT every single morning to process her inbox. She copies the 10 most important emails, pastes them in, and writes, summarize each email in 1 sentence, flag any that require a response today, and draft a 2-line reply for each flagged one in a professional but direct tone. That task used to take her 45 minutes. Now it takes 7. That's not a small thing, that's nearly 4 hours a week handed back to her. A software developer uses GitHub Copilot, which runs on GPT-4 under the hood inside VS Code. It auto-completes entire functions as he types. He estimates it's cut his boilerplate coding time by about 40%. Not the creative, complex architecture work that still requires human judgment, but the repetitive, structural code that makes up more of a developer's day than anyone wants to admit? Gone. A freelance writer uses Perplexity AI, which is worth mentioning because it's specifically built for research, to pull cited sources on any topic in about 30 seconds. Unlike ChatGPT, Perplexity gives you live web results with actual links you can verify. She uses it to build a source list before she writes, then uses Claude to help structure her first draft outline. 2 tools, used in sequence, for 2 different jobs. Quick note, if you're finding this useful, subscribing literally takes 2 seconds and it helps me keep making content like this every single week. Just tap the button. Now, back to the part that actually makes all of this work, prompting. Prompting is the skill that nobody talks about enough. And I said earlier that AI doesn't think, it predicts what a good response looks like based on your words. So your job when prompting is to give the model enough context that the prediction it makes is actually aligned with what you need. There's a simple framework I use. I call it RCTF. Role, context, task, format. You tell the AI what role to play, you give it context about your situation, you state the specific task, and you specify the format you want the output in. Here's a bad prompt: write me an email. Here's a good one using RCTF: you are a senior account manager at a B2B SaaS company. My client has just missed their quarterly review meeting for the second time without notice. I need to send them a firm but professional email that reschedules the meeting and subtly signals that this pattern isn't acceptable, without being aggressive. Write this as 3 short paragraphs, no more than 150 words total. The output from the second prompt is something you can actually send. The output from the first prompt is something you rewrite entirely. Same tool, radically different results. That's all prompting is, front-loading context so the model's prediction lands where you need it. One more pattern interrupt: here's something that trips people up constantly. AI models can confidently state things that are wrong. This is called hallucination, and it happens because the model is always predicting a plausible answer, not necessarily a true one. For anything factual, statistics, dates, legal information, medical information, always verify with a primary source. Perplexity AI helps because it cites sources. But the rule is, trust the structure and the language, verify the facts. Now, I promised you a reveal. Here it is, and this is the thing that separates people who get compounding value from AI from people who dabble and quit. The shift is this: stop thinking of AI as a tool you use for individual tasks, and start building systems. A system is a repeatable prompt sequence with a defined input and a defined output that you run on a schedule. The marketing manager I mentioned, her morning inbox routine is a system. She doesn't think about it. She runs it. Every day. And every day she reclaims 40 minutes. The people getting the most from AI have built 5 to 10 of these systems. One for research. One for writing first drafts. One for summarizing long documents. One for generating ideas when they're stuck. Each system took maybe 30 minutes to build the first time. Each one pays back hours every single week, indefinitely. That's not a tool. That's infrastructure. Okay, here are your 5 actionable takeaways you can use today. 1. Sign up for the free tier of ChatGPT and use it for one specific repeatable task this week. Not exploration. One task. 2. Try the RCTF prompt framework on your next AI interaction. Role, context, task, format. 3. If you work with long documents, test Claude's free tier at claude.ai and paste in something you've been meaning to read but haven't. 4. Use Perplexity AI instead of Google for your next research task and compare the experience. 5. Write down 3 repetitive tasks in your workweek that follow a pattern. Those are your future AI systems. Pick one and build it this weekend. If this video saved you time or gave you something concrete to act on, subscribe. I publish every week, and the next video is a deep dive into AI prompting for specific job roles, marketing, dev, finance, and more, dropping very soon. You don't want to miss that one. And tell me in the comments, what's the one task in your workweek that you most want AI to take off your plate? I read every single comment and I might build the next video around your answer.